let's get started. All right, so thanks for joining. Hey, PJ, man, first of all, I just want to say, man, thank you for doing this for real, man.
No problem, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. All right, so could you give a quick synopsis of who you are?
Oh yeah, for sure. So my name is Patrick Thomas. I go by PJ. I am a senior doctoral for nursing practice student at Augusta University for nursing anesthesia. So I'll be done in December. And it's been a long time coming, but I'm finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. A little bit about me. I'm from Miami, Florida, originally, born and raised. I moved to Baltimore, Maryland on a tennis scholarship. And that's where I did my BSN and started my career as a nurse in the DC area, worked in the ICU for a bit, and then I started travel nursing, and then got into school in 2020. So we are the COVID cohort. We started right before the pandemic hit, and then boom, like everything kind of spiraled out of control. But luckily, it kind of snapped back and kind of died down before we started going into the OR, my class per se. So now everything is pretty much kind of back to normal for us, but we still feel the effects here and there depending on where you at in the country.
So what was your major in undergrad?
Nursing.
Oh, nursing. Great nursing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So I graduated in 2017. And I started working directly in the ICU at a big level 1 facility just to get that experience so that I felt comfortable enough to be like, all right, I'm ready to take this thing to the next level. So that's kind of what my projection was before I started nursing.
So what was the most difficult class during the undergrad part?
Oh my gosh. Well, for those who, I have a YouTube channel too, and I tell my story all the time. But nursing school was kind of difficult for me because I was a D1 athlete, and that already comes with its challenges. And then to put nursing on top of it, which is one of the hardest undergrad degrees you can get, it was tough. And I actually failed out of nursing school my first time around. And it took me a year to kind of sit on the sideline and really figure out like, all right, I need to, pull it together. So but I think the toughest class that I had was either OB or obstetrics. So, pregnant people and kids. That semester was real tricky. It just never set right with me. So that's what took me out the first time. So the second time around, I kind of had an idea of what to expect. But yeah, P's and OB, it was always something about it. But that probably would have been the hardest thing for me in undergrad.
But then you had a 4.0 in your sciences, right?
In my sciences, yeah, but that was pre-nursing, so that was like anatomy and physiology, microbiology, chemistry. So that helped me together. And when it came time to apply for CRNA school, so I was lucky to have that. But it is what it is. You learn from those experiences, and it kind of puts things in perspective when you are thinking about, this is a tough time in my life. You think about, all right, well, I had a tougher time before I can push through this. So it helped me out in that aspect too.
Okay. So talk about Miami. Like, what's it like growing up there? Like,
It was great. I love growing up in Miami. My parents were they were pretty strict, but it was for good reason. Now that I'm older and I think about it, like, you know what, that probably was best. But it's one of those places where you definitely need to have money to like really enjoy it. And we didn't really have no money growing up like that. But we made the best of it. The weather's probably the best thing I can think of in terms of Miami. It's very diverse. So you interact with a lot of different people. I remember going to school and having friends from different ethnicities and backgrounds. So that was cool too. Really, Spanish is the first language in Miami. I always tell people that, like, you can't speak Spanish, you really can't. You can't move how you need to move if you in Miami, in the part that people think about. But there's more to it than people just see on TV as far as like South Beach. That's like the TV Miami, but then you got the real Miami behind it that people don't really know or aren't exposed to, and it just gives you a different perspective when you go elsewhere too. and it teaches you lessons that you probably won't get in any other part of the country. But that's what I took with me. That's all I knew when I moved up to Baltimore. So I'm always gonna claim Miami is home. So
what was the transition like between Miami and Baltimore? Like, I know it got to be a different culture.
It was real big. I remember when I left, it was my first time flying on a plane. I moved up there by myself. I didn't know anybody in Baltimore. And the first thing I remember was it was a lot of like just trees. Like it reminded me kind of like a Georgia. It was a lot of trees. And I remember driving because I actually flew into the wrong airport. Like I should have flew into airport, the BWI airport, but I ended up flying into Dulles. And if anybody knows anything about those airports, like Dulles is out the way. So flew into Dulles. I took like a super shuttle down. So I'm just taking it all in. And then when I got to Baltimore, like the infrastructure is different, the people are different, like the weather is different. Everything was just different at first. And I moved there in the summertime, so I didn't notice too much of an adjustment. But when winter hit, that's when I was like, all right, this is definitely new. So it took me some getting used to. I really still don't like the snow that much. Like when I first saw snow, I was like, oh, this is cool. And then I'm like, all right, when does it go away? And then, it turns into ice, it get all dirty looking. I was like, all right, this is it.
Hey, so the first time you saw snow, you was grown, right?
Yeah, I was 19, 20? First time I saw snow.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the Midwest, I'm in the Midwest, so it's snow all the time. Like we build snowmans, like snow angels.
It snowed, and we went outside. I was living in the dorm rooms. We went outside, like was sledding in the snow, some makeshift sleds, and then my hands got caught. Like, I'm going inside. Y'all can have this. I'm done. So that was it. So I can deal with it more now, but it's not like my favorite time of the year.
So what's the weather like wintertime in Miami?
Hot. It ain't no winter. It's hot. It's just hot. It'll get cold, and for Miami, cold is like low 60s. If it hit 50, that's like an abomination. Like you pulling out the fur coats. I remember one quote unquote winter, I was in like the 7th grade. Like it was supposed to get cold, and my mama bought me this big puffy jacket with like the little fur around, like the Eskimo collar. And I wore it out. People who weren't from Miami, they would be like, what are you doing? Like, I'm like, it's cold. They said it was gonna be cold, so I got my jacket. It probably was like 58, 57. And I had that big jacket on. Yeah, so it's definitely different winter in Miami.
Hey, that's what's up, bro. I love warm weather. Like, I'm not with the cold, bro. Like,
it's not fun. But the good thing about it is though, what you don't get in Miami is with the change of weather is like the change of clothes. Like, you pull out your winter gear, you pull out your summer gear when you up here, your spring gear. Down in Miami, it's just sandals, shorts, a tank. That's it. That's year round. So like, it really is no change in like, getting your style together for the different seasons. Like it's none of that. So I enjoyed that part about being more up north and being like with different seasons. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you get to put on them coats, boy.
Right, exactly. I bring out my coat.
Hey, you get to dress them layers up. The layers,
right? Up. Yeah, you got to layer it up. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I love that. All right. Yeah. So as far as school, like, how did you study for is it CCRN?
So so the CCRN was something that I took when I was already a nurse. So boards is for nursing is the NCLEX, and that was fine. But as far as CCRN, that was something that I needed to really boost my application for CRNA school. And for those, it's the critical care registered nurse exam that you take when you are ICU nurse. That's the CCRN, and then CRNA is for Certified Registered Nurse Anesthetist, or Nurse Anesthesiologist is a new name change. But so in preparation for my applications for different CRNA schools, the CCRN is one thing that you really want to show that you are a competent ICU nurse, that you deal with a lot of sick patients and you can think through a lot of those pathophysiologies and really apply it clinically to know what to do. Because it's one thing to know about it and learn about it, but when it really, happens, you need to know how to act on it too. So that was something that, I had plotted out well into the beginning of me becoming a new grad ICU nurse. Like, all right, by this time I need to start studying for it. And then at the year mark is when you can officially take it. And I took it like right at that year mark. So I was really kind of, like I said, strategic about getting everything done. I was very persistent about it and trying to take the straight path to get to CRNA school. I didn't really want to waste any time because I knew that's what I wanted to do. So it was, to me, it was no sense in like, oh, I'm gonna wait a year, wait 2 years. No, like I took that year and a half and 2 years really before I started CRNA school, but I took those years to really get comfortable being a good ICU nurse and taking that time to really get comfortable taking care of very sick patients and deal with those critical moments so that it wasn't a shock to me. And it translates, you can see the difference when you start a program like anesthesia school, where that experience comes into play. And, when stuff hits the fan, it's like, all right, I've been in this situation before, and it's a little bit more controlled in the OR than like in an ICU. But you click back and you say, I've been in moments like this before, and it's not as jarring, to be in those moments.
Hey, talk about like the importance of the relationship between you and the preceptor.
Oof.
Yeah, I know.
That's a huge component of being like successful as a nurse and also as a CRNA student turning CRNA, because you're dealing with multiple preceptors. And for me, it's about having a good talk game. Like you have to know how to communicate with people. Like you have to know how to deal with different personalities. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I learned when I was an undergrad, and I was actually a resident assistant from my dorm room. And then I became a senior resident assistant. So I was talking to different people. We had different workshops. I had to host programs. So I had to be that person that knew how to appeal to certain crowds in order to keep them interested, for certain programs, or how to talk to certain people and how to code switch. I had to learn how to do those things. And I really felt like that has helped me tremendously when it comes to like clinical and dealing with different preceptors, because I can read a room. I know how to read people's attitudes, and I'm like, all right, this person finds this kind of thing important. Let me show them that I find it important as well, because you have to relate to them, because you're doing people's lives when you're in the OR. Like you are responsible for their life during the surgery. So you want to show that you're on the same wavelength as them when you are kind of under them, so to speak, and you want to gain that trust. So dealing with preceptors can be hit or miss, because if you are the type that can't really navigate different personalities, then it's going to be a little bit harder for you. But for me, luckily, I really haven't had any difficult like preceptor moments that I can think of. I've had some like tough preceptors, right, but no moment that has like been like, I don't want to do this no more because of a precept or something like that. I've always found my way in how to approach certain people in certain situations. So I think it's one of the biggest dynamics that you have to kind of learn, aside from just learning the textbook stuff, right, in order to be successful or get through it with, some type of ease, and not always hitting tough moments because you're dealing with a new preceptor that you don't know how to communicate with.
Hey, what do you think about this? So as far as like the young Black healthcare professionals like us, right? I could be tripping, but I feel like we kind of got an advantage because we've been around so many different diverse people. We can go up a class, we can go down a class, and I feel like it's like hella beneficial.
Yeah, I think that the advantage comes into, aside from that, is I feel like we have a different type of struggle than a lot of people. Right. So what we find or what other ethnicities or types of people find difficult, sometimes we look at that and be like, that's nothing, So our perspective is different. So when other people have those challenges, sometimes even for myself, I'm like, that's what you're tripping about? Like, that's nothing, because we've had other issues that have put us in way worse situations that we had to dig out of. So for us, it's nothing. So I think that's another advantage that we have. Fortunately and unfortunately that we had to have those experiences, but I feel like it's helped me a lot too. And I'm pretty sure you can say the same in some of those same moments.
Yeah, man, that's exactly how I feel. Because the stuff that
Yeah.
they worry about, eat light. It's light.
Right. It's lightweight. You like, and you try to like empathize, like, oh yeah, I feel you. But in my mind, I'm like, that's nothing. But hey, to each his own. You know, everybody has their definition of struggle and hardship. So hey.
Right. And then, so as far as your career, once you graduated, you started at Surgical One Trauma Center.
Yeah, I started at a level 1 trauma center in the surgical ICU.
Okay.
As an ICU nurse. That's where I started I started my healthcare career as a nursing tech in the ER.
Okay.
And now I did that while I was in nursing school. And then when I graduated nursing school, I started in the ICU as an ICU nurse.
Now that's not the norm, right? Or
because
it's hard to get in the level 1, right?
It can be tough. Yeah, it can definitely be tough. But again, like I knew that's what my focus needed to be on when I was in nursing school. So I was applying, I was calling different HRs like, hey, do y'all have any nurse residency programs for new grads, you know? And they were like, some were like, yeah, some were like, no. But I did that very, very early because I knew I didn't want to waste time again. Like I wanted to get that type of experience where other people may not get that. You know, you have a lot of people in the nursing profession, especially academia, and they'll tell you otherwise, like, oh, you need to start on a medical surgical floor, which is like it's not as acute. And they'll say you got to get that experience on the medical surgical floor, or med surg is what we call it, or med surg first before you can do ICU. I'm like, no, for what? That's not going to benefit me. At least that's how I felt. And I know a lot of people who are actually in CRNA school or who have gone through it feel the same way, where it's like, why am I utilizing that time to develop med surg skills when I won't be using those skills when I become an ICU nurse anyway? So why not just jump straight into the ICU and get those skills from the jump? It's hard to break those habits too. Yeah, it's you said, why do I think?
No, why do you think that they give that advice to go that route?
I think it's just a different generational thinking. Like a lot of the people who will tell you that are from older generations of nursing, right. And that's the way that it was brought to them. But I think now with hospitals that have nurse residency programs that are able to kind of teach you the importance of what to look for when you are in an ICU, it makes a difference in how you think. So it makes it more doable. So yeah.
And then I think you said, like, in the past on one of your posts, you did travel nursing as well.
Yeah, I did. When I had got my CCRN already, and I had been a nurse for probably like a year and like 3 or 4 months. Okay. I had already been applying to CRNA schools, and my goal was, I said, once I get into CRNA school, I'm gonna do travel nursing. One, because you make more money. So I was like, at least I can save money, because I won't be able to work for 3 years while I'm in school. So I was like, I can save money or pay down debt or do whatever I wanted to do with it before I started school. So once I got that CCRN and once I got my first acceptance into CRNA school, I was like, all right, time to travel. So I was just checking things off the list, checking it off the list.
Hold on. Where was that first acceptance at?
Oh, it was for a school in Pennsylvania, Cedar Crest College. Okay. in Allentown, Pennsylvania. So that was my first acceptance. My first interview was for a school in Tennessee prior to that, but I got waitlisted. Okay. So I was like, all right, cool. I got waitlisted for there, had my second interview, got accepted, started traveling, and I went all the way to California for my first assignment. And
hold on, why everybody go to California for the first?
That's where the money is. That's where the money is.
I'm so like,
the money, it was. Well, now it's everywhere because of COVID. But before pre-COVID, you wanted to make some big bucks. Like as a travel nurse, you go to Cali. Like that's just it. And some people, they'll advise you not to go to Cali as your first assignment because once you go, you're not gonna want to leave. So because you're making such good money. So, and I mean, it was literally like double what I was making as a staff nurse. So. The benefits of travel nursing is huge. So I was out in Cali for a little bit. I was working like 4 nights a week, which isn't ideal. I've worked night shift before, but it's not my preference. But I did it because I got
what's the times?
7 p to 7 a.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah. So, but I was doing 4. Typically, we do three 12-hour shifts is full time in nursing, but I was doing 4. So I was like, all right, I gotta just suck it up, do what I gotta do.
Yeah.
So when I got the invite for Augusta to interview, I had just finished a string of 4 nights in a row. Drove from where I was to the airport that morning when I got off, hopped on the plane, flew out to Georgia. I flew out the day before. I don't know why. I flew into Atlanta, and Augusta's about 2 hours from Atlanta. I flew into Atlanta, and for some reason, I felt like I had enough time to get my hair cut the next day. But I totally forgot about the 2-hour difference. So I like begged the barber, like, please, can you cut my hair like 6 o'clock in the morning? And he agreed. And I tipped him like $100 that day. Like he got up at 6 o'clock and cut my hair. And I drove from the chair to Augusta, held my interview, and then flew back to California and worked another like 4 nights in a row. So it was that time was very stressful of like interviewing and applying. It was a lot, but you gotta do what you gotta do. So
hey, that's the grind though. Like
yeah,
it's part of it. You gotta do it.
For sure.
So what about as far as like financial aid and loans? I'm pretty sure you had to take out the loans, right? Because that's the game.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in loans. I know some people, they're like, oh no. I took out the loans. So financial aid, as far as grad school, it's a little bit different. You can get this, unsubsidized loans, and then but really grad plus loans is
what we do too.
Yeah. And that was a whole nother struggle too, because growing pains from being young, not paying down debts appropriately, and finding myself needing a bar, like my best friend like co-sign for me so I can go to school. Shout out to my best friend Dorian. But
man, that's a great best friend.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We've been riding since 2011. So that's yeah. And he's in California now. He's one of my role models too, though, because I mean he was a professional student from college. Like he did a double bachelor's, double master's. He went back and got his nurse practitioner certification, postmasters. He's a nurse manager out at a hospital in California now. Okay. Going back for his PhD. Like he's a whole nother ball game. But yeah. So as far as loans, Grad Plus got me through. I live off of my refund checks. Luckily, my school, we have a break in December, so I was able to work for that break, and I would just take quick assignments, travel assignments, and get money. Like this is when COVID was really, really bad back in December of 2020. So I went out to Texas and I did an assignment there. They were paying like $10K a week, so that helped me out a lot. So so I did 4 weeks out there, but we worked a lot. I did six days in a row. So and it was really bad. Like it was bad. COVID was that was OG COVID. Right. It was taking people out left and right. Yeah. And but that helped me out a lot too. So I was financially more stable. So yeah. So but loans for sure is what I did. I think most people go that route. Yeah. So that's 6 days a week. Does your body start breaking down, or like how do you feel? Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, 12, right? Yeah, 12, 6/12s. Yeah, 7A to 7P. Luckily, the company that I was with, they provide like housing and transportation to and from the hospital, so I didn't have to worry about driving. But I mean, your adrenaline is kind of running because I mean these patients were dying like left and right. I mean, it was really, really bad back then. So you either getting ready to intubate a patient, or they dying. You starting drips on them to keep their pressures up, and it was a lot. So throughout the day, you kind of ripping and running, and then around you checking the clock like, man, 7 o'clock, need to hurry up. You got time to eat, go to sleep, and you right back up the next day to do it. So part of it's the adrenaline, and then when you get to payday, you get paid every week. You're like, I think I can do this for another week. So that check hit, and then you do it for another week, and you're like, you know what? I can do it one more week. And I know some people, they never left Texas. They were out there for like 5, 6, 7 months at a time, getting paid $10K a week. Yes. So I know some people who they paid CRNA school off, outright
Oh
just from
yeah.
before they started, So it was unfortunate situation, but there were some good things that came from it, I guess, if you look at it that way.
So did the COVID thing like affect you in any kind of way, like mentally? You know what I'm saying? Like as far as the
Did.
working.
Yeah. And I wasn't sure how it was gonna hit me because I being a nurse in general, like you really you can dissociate a lot.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, yeah, I've dealt with sick patients before, cool. I've dealt with patients dying before, cool. But this was different because you're literally doing everything that would save a normal patient. That it was kind of sick like that. But with these patients, it was like nothing was working. They didn't really know what was gonna work. You leave them extubated, they're dead. You intubate them, they're dead. It was nothing was working. And there was really no solid plan for them at that time. Right. So it was tough to like know that you're doing everything that you can and it's just not working. So it was definitely tough. I had a lot of tough conversations with like family members, like patients' kids. So a lot of them got COVID from their kids, and so they felt really bad about that. We had patients where like the mom would be upstairs in another ICU, the son would be downstairs, the dad would be in a room 3 doors down. So it was a lot of family dynamics to that too. So it was very draining. I was glad to leave when I left. So
hey, so does any of the facilities or programs offer like any therapy with stuff like that, or was that a thing?
I'm pretty sure there are places that did offer that kind of help, but I mean, we were working so much, you really couldn't do nothing anyway besides go to work and talk to your coworkers. But I mean, I feel like it's definitely something that if it affected you in a way, there was people or resources to kind of help you through that. And I feel like it's the same way with school too, like, because CRNA school is very draining too mentally. And but they do, our program is very good about I feel like recognizing that you need a good school life balance, which is why we do have that break in December. I just happen to work it out. But yeah, so a lot of places do have those type of resources for you to kind of reach out if you need to talk to somebody professionally, at least.
Okay. Hey, so what's up with this fitness journey?
Oh man. It's kind of like halfway there. When I graduate in December, then I'll be back on full. Like I go through these spurts where I'm like, all right, I'm fully dedicated. And then like I fall off. And before I know it, it's been like a month or two before I worked out, or my eating slacks off. So I still got the fight there. I really do. I got it. I just I just don't have the actual the drive for it right now. With school, it's just so draining. Like I still play tennis very regularly, but I went out yesterday and I was like, dang, I just sit down too much in the OR. Like I need to be more active because I was tired. So and I mean I'm not huge, but I'm bigger than I would like to be. Okay. So yeah, so I definitely I'm gonna get back on it full time when I graduate for sure.
Hey, because I saw your transition page. I'm like, hold on.
That was prime time. Like that was the best shape I've ever been in my life. Shout out to Elite Technique. Like it's this gym in well, they have multiple gyms now. They've expanded a lot, but it's in Maryland, close to DC. And it was like 30 minutes a day. I worked out 4 days a week. And I just remember first thinking like, man, what's 30 minutes? Like I could be in the gym for an hour, 2 hours, but 30 minutes is enough. It was plenty. And then when you couple that with actually dieting, because that's 80% of losing weight anyway. But when you couple that with the right dieting, it was like take off. So I look at those pics every now and again and just I just looking, just thinking like, but I know I can get back to it. I know I can get back to it.
Man, I seen them abs popping out. I'm like, oh, he's serious.
Yeah, it was no joke. It was no joke. But yeah.
What type of so was it a circuit gym or like you do this
It was a
routine?
lot of like hit. Yeah, it was a lot of hit. Like it was a lot of rounds, different. It was like nonstop. Like you barely got a break, but you was hitting like different exercises, and then you get like a break in between. I'm looking at the clock like, man, it's only been 10 minutes. Like I need come on, man. So and then we always finish with abs. So that last like 5 minutes, I'm like dead. But then I would go play tennis after that too, after I get a little break, and that would help out too. Because I burn a lot of calories with tennis. So that coupled with the working out, coupled with the dieting, it was like it was a perfect combination for real.
Now, how strict was this dieting?
It was real strict. I was real strict. At
Really?
first, I was like, man, I don't need to be that strict, but I wasn't losing weight as quickly as I was when I started dieting. And you can tell, like, but the dieting was very, very strict. Like, it was no carbs, no sweets. Like, it was like high protein. I ate a lot of salads. I wasn't eating as much. And I feel like, in our community, like you eat, like you gotta eat. Like you go to somebody's house, they offer you food, like you can't really turn it down. You going somewhere for like a family function, you gotta eat. If you don't eat, it's like you starving yourself. But when I thought about it, it's like I was overeating, and I feel like we're so used to overeating that like it's like, okay, if I only eat twice a day, I'm starving myself. When really it's like, no, you're really not starving yourself. Or so I had to change my mindset with that too, and that really helped with the dieting.
So did you ever do the, what is it, intermittent fasting or something like that?
I did. Not during that time, but after, when I started school, I intermittent fasted, and I did like a 16-hour fast, and that helped too. So my second time around, my second little spurt of fitness, I did intermittent fasting, and that it helped, but it was hard. It was so hard. Like,
so which way would you recommend now that you did both?
I think just if you can consistently have a good diet, you can lose the weight. For me, it was just the intermittent fasting, like around that 1 o'clock, because I would go from, I think, was it 10 p.m. to like 2 p.m. or something like that. I wouldn't eat. And it was hard. Like I'll be in the library studying, and it was just hard. So, but I think if you can focus on like portioning, not overeating, and just eating healthy, you don't have to do intermittent fasting.
Okay.
Yeah.
PJ, I'm finna stop this.